Have you guys ever wondered when we're talking about the like Premier League? Have you ever gone down every team and thought about a player that should be sold by that club? On this episode of the Starting 11, Billy and I will be going through every team, talking about one player that we think should be sold from the club. Please like and subscribe. Editing is just amazing. So, Billy, how you doing, sir?
I'm all good, mate. It's taken a bit of research to get all this done. I must admit, having to dig through the teams, seeing how they're playing, seeing all them sorts of bits. But yeah, I'm here and I'm ready.
Cool, great stuff. Well, let's jump straight into it. Are we gonna do it in kind of rank order? Right, that's the best thing.
I was thinking alphabetical, but we can go down the ranking if you like.
Okay, so I've put it down as ranking.
It's all good. We could go down by ranking. It is all good. Guys, I do want to say quickly, if I look down, it's because it's on my phone. It's taken me ages to write all of it down. So if I'm looking down, it's not that I'm not interested. I'm just looking at all the stuff that I've written down.
Cool. All right. So let's go with Arsenal. And Billy, I want you to go first. So who's the player and why?
I've gone with Cedric Suarez from Arsenal. He's 31 years of age. He's just been off the pace. He did well before Arsenal. I can't remember where he was at. I swear it was Southampton or something like that. But he's only played twice for Arsenal this season. And for me, he's just not been good enough. If you're looking at backups for Arsenal squad depth, especially, that's one of their weakest points. You have Tomiyasu and you have Ben White playing there. And I feel like Arsenal should just free him off the wage book. So for me, a 31-year-old, he's not really going to get much game time. And yeah, I think Cedric for me should be the one to go.
Okay. So which and again, I love your explanation. I have gone a little bit more controversial. I've gone with Gabriel as in the centre back. Okay. I think there's too many mistakes in him. I think, there are certain levels, especially defensively, that you're like looking at a player to actually possess. And like for me, he's a train wreck ready to happen. Yes, Arsenal are top of the league and defensively they've like been pretty strong, but it's because of William, Saliba, Xhaka, and Ramsdale. And Gabriel's had a few decent games, but I firmly believe if any of those three players that I mentioned are missing, then Arsenal go to pot. And I don't think Gabriel is strong enough and is a strong enough leader to literally keep that defense together.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting Gabriel. I must admit. I think that you, like you said as well, you've explained it quite well with how Gabriel's mistakes. He has been quite mistake prone currently in the Premier League. But yeah, I think that the only issue with that I could see is that who else have they got if they were to sell Gabriel? If they were to get rid of him this January, they've got Saliba. You could potentially move Ben White back into centre back. But yeah, I just don't think. Who else do they have in that centre back position to cover that? Do you think?
Well, I was like looking at Ben White. I think he's a natural centre back. Keeping Cedric there with Tomiyasu. Again, I actually think that they literally have enough cover. And I firmly believe that Ben White will literally eventually become one of Arsenal's and England's best centre backs. In a generation, it's just biding his time. So let's go to the next team, Manchester City.
You can start off. I want to hear yours, and then I'll give you
Cool.
mine after.
All right, so I've gone with Calvin Phillips. I just don't understand the signing. Yes, he's been injured, but with the caliber of player that Manchester City are bringing to the club, and I'm not saying that Phillips is literally crap at all, but with how City play and literally how like they start off the play, Calvin Phillips just does not fit that system. He is going to be one of those players that people are going to forget about if he's not careful. And an amazing little journey with like Leeds that kind of got him into the England squad, rightly so. But what we've seen now with the emergence of certain players within England and again even at Man City, where does Calvin Phillips sit? He's not going to be a squad if he's okay being a squad player, then I don't know what I can say more about him. But yeah, Calvin Phillips is my choice.
It's interesting you said Phillips because I actually originally did put Phillips down, Calvin Phillips. I think that unfortunately with injuries and the way he's been, it's been very difficult to try and even push to get into the City team. But I've gone a bit differently. I've gone with Palmer.
Wow.
I think that overall, look, he shows a lot of promise, especially when he's played for them. But overall, I just think that he's just not to that level as much as the others are. I think that City need to either loan him out, maybe sell him, get some sort of money for him. He's young still. He's got a lot of potential. But in this current time, I don't see a way where Palmer can fit into that City squad as well as, especially with the additions of Alvarez and all these other attacking options that they've got. I don't see Palmer being there to be able to play. He needs to get more games under his belt, whether that's, like I said, a loan away, actually getting sold, maybe, with City with buyback clauses, all them sorts of bits. But yeah, for me, Palmer, I think they should get rid of him.
Cool. Let's go on to the next club, Newcastle United. Should I start? Oh, no, you can start first, actually. No.
I'll start with this one. I've gone with Fraser. Ryan Fraser. I
think. Okay.
When we're looking at Newcastle, we're looking at the future. We're looking at a rebuild. We're looking at something exciting and promising. Fraser's not that. He's getting old now. He played very well last season for them. He's had a few moments of brilliance this season, but overall, he just needs to, it sounds horrible, but he needs to make way for the newcomers. He needs to make way for the new generation of Newcastle players, whether that's academy players, whether that's players they sign. He needs to move out the way and let them progress as a club, in my opinion.
My pick is Jonjo Shelvey. Jonjo's been around for, I think he's come up to his second decade now, so close to 20 years, I think, or 15 years anyway. Had a lot of promise at Charlton, of course, got that money moved to Liverpool, and I saw just little kind of bursts from like him, but again, it's just not good enough. And he kind of went to Newcastle. And again, that was his big move. Like that was for him to establish himself as like one of the best English midfielders around, and he just hasn't done that. Again, very sporadic, ill discipline. I'm not going to say fitness, but as a centre mid, like that's literally the heartbeat of your team, and they always kind of, I would say, getting kind of pounded left, right, and centre. And for Joe Linton, that was bought as a forward player, now
Yeah.
playing in midfield ahead of John Joe Shelby. That's saying something. And again, exactly what you said before with this new regime now, the Jan going to be filtering out the old, well, not just the older players, but the players that are just not at that level. And unfortunately, John Joe Shelby is just not at that level anymore.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. We both picked the older sort of players. I think it's interesting. We both picked the older sort of players, the veteran players that potentially need to move on. Which enables obviously the younger players to come through and build on that. But yeah, both similar sort of lines with Newcastle.
So Spurs, and I've gone for is it Emerson Royale?
Yeah, the right back.
Yeah, the right back. He is dreadful, and he has cost Spurs a couple of points already. Erratic, ill-disciplined, and I think any opposition manager would say that is their weak point. And with Conte, defensively, he works on that shape a lot. Chelsea. I mean, like you would probably know a lot more. And Royale just looks just out of his depth. And if Spurs really want to be challenging for silverware, he has to go.
Yeah. Tabriz, can you guess my player? Any player that I've picked for Tottenham Hotspur, who do you think? Yes. I've picked Harry Kane as the player to sell for Tottenham. If you hear me out with the explanation, you can understand, right? Harry Kane could be regarded as one of the best Premier League strikers we've seen with the bags when he is, the goals he scored, everything like that. The one thing every player that got over Kane is the trophies. So I think if Kane made the move away, started winning some trophies, whether it's still in the Premier League, if he goes to maybe an Arsenal, well, probably not Arsenal actually, but a club that potentially can win trophies. I think that Kane would benefit from it. I think Tottenham getting 100+ million for Kane, they would benefit from it and be able to rebuild the squad that way with the funds from him. But yeah, for me, Harry Kane needs to go. He needs to better his career and get some trophies under his belt. And Tottenham need to get rid of him so then they can get some money to be able to buy some players, in my opinion.
Okay, cool. Manchester United. I'll let you go first.
I've gone with Donny van der Beek, the Dutch boy himself. He's had so much time. He came in obviously under, who was it? Was it Solskjaer who signed him, or was it before Solskjaer?
Was it Van Gaal? I can't remember.
But he came in, didn't look that great. He's been with 3-4 managers now, and he's still not getting picked. You thought maybe this is the time with Ten Hag, who was with him at Ajax. But you thought the Dutch connection, maybe they would have been done something together. But overall, it just hasn't worked out. And I think that he's still got time to improve in his career. He's still got time to potentially get better and become the player he once was in that Ajax team. But Man United have killed him. Not enough game time. He tried it at Everton on loan. That didn't work. Well, didn't work out as well. So yeah, he needs that move away for me.
And you know what? I didn't actually think about him, but that's a fair shout. I have said Anthony Martial. He didn't really have a successful period at Seville. He's been at the club now for over 5-6 years. Hasn't really kicked on Yes, he kind of looks like he's finding like a little bit of the groove, but so Rashford is Ten Hag's preferred number 9, and I think Martial, if he wants to, I mean, how old is he? 25, 26, 27 maybe. I think this is a good time for him to move. I think United will still get a handsome book for him, and also for him to really kind of get that United hoodoo out of the way. Because again, even Van der Beek, it's just been unfortunate that those two players have been around when United have literally probably been the worst like club ever, and that's internally as proper internally. So yeah, Anthony Martial is my pick. Liverpool. I'll let you go first.
I've gone with a player who, in my opinion, was an awful signing to begin with. I never saw the point in it, and it's Nat Phillips for me. I think that when you look at the time of it, with obviously you had 3 or 4 centre backs going out injured, and it was just a mess when you went through that crisis. He never really gets into the team now. He's not good enough for Liverpool, and I think he's a Premier League player, but I think a low-level Premier League player. I could see him at potentially a Wolves or a team down the bottom end of the table, but I don't know why he's at a top 6 club.
Cool, fair enough. So as a Liverpool fan, I had to really, really think about this. But I think the one player has to be Ox. I think Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. And again, it was either him or Keita, but I think Ox for me because Ox has been around the Premier League long enough, and he was so exciting, 17, 18, dynamic, just ability, endless ability. Again, a lot of high hopes for him in an England shirt. Went to Arsenal, a season here and there. Of course, injuries definitely take their toll. But for Liverpool to spend £40 million, it was a gamble. And it just hasn't worked out. Yes, there was a period about 5-6 games a few seasons ago, or a couple of seasons ago, where he was, he was banging in the goals. He was, kind of really making things happen. But he just, I love the guy. He seems like a very, very genuine guy. But I think we have to sell him, or we're going to risk losing him on a free. And I think that would be criminal.
Yeah, I think anyone in that sort of area, when you look at Milner, Ox, you've got them sort of weaker midfielders that are still getting game time, like Milner and stuff, that you need to get rid of, like the deadwood, if you. But yeah, a fair shout.
Yeah. The next team is Brighton, and I'll let you go first. Oh, shall I go first? Actually,
you can go first. Yeah.
Yeah, let me go first. Okay, so again, I'll be absolutely transparent. I don't know a lot of the Brighton team, so I had to do my research. And Billy, please correct me, but your namesake, Billy Gilmore, I know he's at Brighton right now. I'm not sure if that's a loan or literally if that's a permanent deal.
He paid, but it was 9 million.
9 million. Wow. I've not seen him. I don't think I've seen him. People have spoken about Trossard, McAllister. There's like other players that people know about, and Billy Gilmore again was supposed to be an amazing talent coming like through Chelsea. And again, if you kind of coming through Chelsea, then something must be decent. Again, went to Norwich, didn't really do nothing. Brighton hasn't done anything for me, and he's a player if he's not careful, he's like just going to slip through the abyss. And he will continue playing for Scotland. Again, I'm not disrespecting Scotland because Scotland are crying out for players. But again, he just won't get the game time. I like Brighton, and I do fear for his long-term future.
Yeah, I think Gilmour is a player that I hold dear to my heart as a Chelsea fan. I think that he's a great young talent. Do you know what I mean? His debut in a cup game for Chelsea, won man of the match against Liverpool. I believe that was the game as well. But yeah, I think Gilmour needs to find that club that he can settle at and just genuinely play good football with. And yeah, it's not that well for Brian. I've gone a bit different. He signed in January, which you're like, oh, it's only a season. And it's Undav, the striker who came from the Belgian league, I believe. He played very well in the Belgian league. I think he got an immense amount of goals. I think it was like 16, 15 goals in like 16, 17 games, I think it was. So crazy record coming into the Brighton squad, but he just hasn't been settled. There's been reports of him not settling. I think he's come out to a reporter and said that he's unsettled at the club. And I think that there's just some transfers that just don't go well. And I think Undav going there has been one of them. When you're playing Danny Welbeck ahead of him, Danny Welbeck, don't get me wrong, has been playing class for Brighton. But he's getting old. And when you have a young German player like Undav, well, I say young, he's 28. He's in the peak of his career, if you will. I think. So, yeah, I've gone with Undav. He needs to make the way and he needs to try and find a club to sort of revive what he was going for in the Belgian league.
Cool. The next club is Chelsea, and I'll let you go first.
I've gone. It's difficult. There's the obvious one which I've written down, which is Ziyech. Everyone knows about Ziyech. You've seen what he's done with Morocco. You see what he's done with Ajax. He comes to Chelsea, and he's just not as good. He's fit in too many systems where, not fit in, but he's played in too many systems where he hasn't fit in. And overall, I just think that he hasn't been good enough for Chelsea. I could see him moving to a potential like AC Milan. I think he could play quite well out there, the style of play that he plays. But yeah, I'm just thinking about anyone else. But yeah, Ziyech for me is the one to go.
I mean, I had a few players, to be honest. So it's kind of strange how you only picked him because there's about 5 or 6 players that shouldn't really be there. But hey, no, I'm not a Chelsea fan. I would say Mason Mount. I think Mason Mount doesn't fit the Chelsea way, especially under Potter. I think again we've seen him in an England shirt. Again, he's a good player, but we're talking, if we're talking elite, if we're talking world class, if we're talking Chelsea that want to get back to that level, then Mount cannot be in that conversation. Do I think Mount can probably get into the next tier of Premiership teams? 100%. Do I think at a smaller club he would be the big fish? 100%. And he kind of seems like that man that would take that responsibility. But everyone saw at the end of Tuchel's reign how he dropped off. And you don't just drop off like that, especially when your attribute is energy. That's very telling. I'm sorry, that's very telling. So yeah, for me, it'd be Mason Mount.
I'm sorry, but as a Chelsea fan, a lot of fans who are not Chelsea fans don't watch Mount week in, week out and don't understand the stuff he does. I understand his mindset and his attitude lately has been quite poor, especially towards the back end of Tuchel's managerial career with us. But Mount was our top goal scorer last season or the season before. Mount has been crucial for us going forward. Whether it's on the right wing, whether it's central, he has been able to adapt well to any system that we've chucked him in. He was that number 10 role for us. He was that cam, that central attacking midfielder. But Tuchel came in, played him out on the right wing, and he played well there. And now he's a right winger. He can play cam still, but yeah, I don't. If we lost Mount, we would lose a lot of points that by the end of the season, there's going to be points that would have been dropped without Mount, in my opinion.
Fulham. Okay, Fulham. I'll let you start.
I've gone with a player who is young and exciting. His name is Josh Onomah. He doesn't really suit the current system Fulham are playing. He's still got great potential, and the way he is, I think that he's genuinely someone who could become a high-level Premier League player. But overall, I think that he's not ready yet for Premier League level. And I think that if he maybe dropped down to high-level Championship, got some wins under his belt, got playing some nicer football that he's more involved with, then you could see him potentially pop back up to the Premier League at a higher level. But for now, yeah, he just doesn't suit the system they're trying to play. And I think he needs that move away.
So my player for Fulham is Dan James. Dan James, he is a throwback to a player playing in the 1980s, where it's just kick and run. And yes, he's got blistering pace, but he doesn't use it well. In the positions that he finds himself in, he could easily score double figures. I'm not saying that, like he should be scoring 20, 30 goals, but he should be doing a lot more with his attributes than he is right now. And with players that focus on pace as their main weapon, when that pace goes, Daniel James, what else do you have in your locker? That's what's pretty alarming. And I can't believe Fulham paid money to. Is he at Fulham? He was at Leeds, right? He was at Man United, Leeds, and then Fulham.
Yeah.
So that's telling you something. That's telling you something. So yeah, for me, it's Dan James.
Yeah.
The next is Brentford, and I can go first. And again, for absolute transparency, I had to look on the Brentford squad, and I was looking, I think, okay, and maybe this is a little bit harsh. I'm not gonna lie, but I've said Ben Mee. He does what he says on the tin: head and kick and tackle and foul. But I mean, I think if Brentford really want to survive in this division more than a couple of seasons, they need a little bit more than a header and a kind of kick type of player. Yes, he's very committed. I'm not blaming him for Burnley's downfall, because there's 11 players or 10 other players as well as Ben Mee. But yeah, he's someone that I think definitely gives a lot for the team. But I can imagine if the fans said, you know what, if we have to swap out a defender for like someone that's got a little bit more class, he would be the first person people would say.
Yeah, I think that with Ben Mee he was one of Burnley's best players, in my opinion. Even when they went down, I think him and Tarkowski, I think both of them together were solid for Burnley. It's unfortunate that they did go down, but Ben Mee was definitely one of the better players at Burnley, but he just hasn't been as good for Brentford. I've gone a bit different, and I've gone for Baptiste. He's only 24 years of age. He has made 4 starts in the Premier League this season. for me, he needs that move away as a 24-year-old. Like I said with Josh Onomar, he needs that move potentially to a higher level championship team to boost his career on, to potentially come back to the Premier League as a better player. But for now, he's not Prem ready and needs that time to grow into the footballer that he can become.
It's actually kind of funny that we've not picked the same player. Like we've all picked different players, which is quite interesting. I'm actually waiting for like the player, and this could be the player. I believe the next player, the next team and player, this could be our connection moment. Crystal Palace, who have you picked?
I've gone for Tompkins, the centre-back. I think he's so far down the pecking order for centre-backs for Palace. I think that he's not good enough anymore, and it'd be better off the pay books. Let's put it that way. They could free up some wages, free up some cash, and be able to look at some better investments. But for now, yeah, Tompkins for me goes out.
And that's a fair shout because I totally forgot about him. I've gone for Jordan Ayew.
Yeah.
I really thought you was going to say his name. Jordan Ayew, I don't know what he does apart from run around and to block space. Not saying that that's not important in football, but as an attacking player, as a number 9 or number 10, how many goals has he scored in the last 2-3 years? Like 5. There's blatantly something that we're not seeing because managers pick him still. So even he probably knows he's kind of nicking a living and thinking, okay, if I'm not scoring, I'll just run around and just block play and just do the stuff that other players just don't want to do. And I'll carry on doing that in training and I'll do that in a match. Because again, even in front of goal, I think he'd rather pass it than anything else. Honestly, I just don't understand. Again, any Palace fans, let me know. I don't understand what this guy does. Jordan Ayew has been on Palace's book for over 4 years and is collecting some serious coin. Jordan Ayew, pass me some of that coin and put it in my pocket. So yeah, let's go with Aston Villa. And
you can
start this one. Yeah, I can start. So very, very easy for me. Coutinho. I think Coutinho's went to Villa with a huge reputation, of course. Not really even talking about his Liverpool days. Of course, Bayern and Barcelona. He had a decent spell at Bayern. Of course, Barcelona. Everyone knows about that. So, and like he was still young enough, and like he came with all the vigor and all of the energy. He definitely came to Villa because of Steven Gerrard. Let's not pretend. And it just hasn't worked out. Even like in the toxic times with Steven Gerrard, he wouldn't even play him either. Like he was even starting on the bench. So he's that type of player that's unfortunately just gone to disappear into the sunset without like the full recognition that I believe he deserves.
See, we almost had the same pick because I did go for Coutinho at first, but I moved and changed and I went for Samson, the French midfielder for Aston Villa. He's not been picked even on the bench. He's not getting subbed on. He's not being looked at. He's been unfortunate with injuries, been a bit injury prone. And I think that he needs that move back to France, back to a club that he's more comfortable with. I think Samson was with Marseille or one of the French teams before. So I think he needs to move back there. And I think he needs to settle down for me.
Leicester City. I'd love for you to start.
This player should have left years ago. I've said this every year. Ayozo Perez is horrendous. It's apparent that Rodgers doesn't like him. It's apparent that he's not being used. And I think that he needs to go, whether it's to a lower club in the Prem, whether it's a move abroad to try and find a different club. He is Spanish, so he could potentially look to go back to a Spanish club. But in the Premier League for Leicester City, he has done naff all.
No, fair enough. Fair enough. I've also gone for an attacking player. Could be slightly controversial here. Jamie Vardy. I think Jamie Vardy has had his time at Leicester City. I think there was a time, everyone knows, when Leicester won the league, he was pivotal to that team. There was one way to play, and the play was give it to Vardy, literally, and he has proven, when he kind of got into the Premiership, in the Premier League, he was one of the older players, and he's had an amazing Premiership career and an amazing football career, rags to riches, let's say. But as I've said with Dan James, like once your pace goes, let's see what else you got. And he's had niggling injuries. He's not really started. He's coming off from the bench, which doesn't really, it's not really him. And sometimes a player can stay too long at a club, and when it's that lingering Jamie Vardy whiff, and I feel that he's been there too long. Yes, he will help the younger players and any players that do come into Leicester, because he seems that kind of like joker in the pack, type of man. But I just feel that it's time for him to actually move on to pastures new. Do I think he can still play in the Premiership? Let me hold my breath. Bournemouth. Shall I go first?
You can crack on.
Okay.
I'm just quickly grabbing something, but you can carry on.
Cool. So I've gone with Lima. Centre mid, I believe, is he Colombian or Ecuador?
I think it's Ecuador.
I don't know the nationality. Is it Ecuador? They bought him a few years back. Again, very tenacious. Again, very, very simple, solid like. But I think they can do a lot better. I think he's been shoehorned in there because they believe there's no one else out there that can do better. I know when like Brooke was bursting onto the scene, I think like sometimes Lima would be left out. But of course, Brooke is now coming back from his chemotherapy, and I'm actually glad that he's kind of all clear, and Lima is just there. I don't know what to call him. Is he a CDM? Is he a PM?
He's more defensive, but yeah.
I don't understand. So yeah, Lima for me.
I've gone for a man named Jack Stacey. He was crucial in Bournemouth's promotion. He was used very well in Bournemouth getting promoted, but he's only seen one start in the Premier League this season, and he's just not been good enough. I think the level he's at is definitely a potential high championship used in the right system. But overall, I don't think that he is going to get much game time in the Premier League for any club, if I'm honest. So for Jack, it's Jack Stacey for me.
Cool. Leeds United. I'll let you go first, Billy.
I've gone with another defender, Cody Drama, or Drame, or Drama. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. He's got quite a good potential, hence why he's got quite a nice high price that Leeds could get for him. And on top of that, he just hasn't really had the opportunities to get game time as well as he might hope. You could see him potentially moving to a Palace or somewhere like that. But for Leeds, he's just not getting enough game time, and I don't think he should be there. in my opinion.
I have gone for. Who do you think I've gone for? Actually, I wonder if you.
For Leeds United, I think you're going to go for Rodrigo.
I've gone for Patrick Bamford.
Yeah,
I've spoken
I
about
should've-
this dude a few times. He seems like a nice bloke, a guy who I'd love to sit down and really have a good, meaningful chat. Again, he's been around the block. He was on Chelsea's books.
Yeah.
I just don't see it. I don't see the Premiership quality. With Bielsa, yes, it was gung ho football. Get as many people in the box. Yes, he scored a great hat trick against Aston Villa. Yes, he had, yes, he played for England. Did he play for England once or twice? Once, I
maybe.
think.
I don't remember
yeah.
him playing for England, but
I know that he got selected. This is literally when he was scoring goals when Bielsa was around. I can't remember if it was one cap or two. I can't remember. But honestly, again, let's see. I don't want to disrespect him, especially because like he seems like a really cool guy. But I think shall I tell you where I think he would thrive? Would be Italy. I think the Italian league would really suit him. I think you probably get the best out of him, but not in the Premiership for me.
yeah.
West Ham. So I have gone with Lanzini. On his day, absolute quality. I remember the goal he scored against Tottenham in the COVID season. Absolute banger. Again, very skillful. Strong, quick. But again, he's not really kicked on. You are like looking at those type of players who like should be more established in the first 11, and he's just been in the squad. And fair play to him. He's kind of taken it upon himself to literally immerse himself with the with the kind of West Ham and the kind of East London culture. But I was looking for a lot more from Lanzini, and I think it's time for him to move.
Yeah. I've gone a bit more controversial, but I think some West Ham fans would understand. I've gone with Souček, their central defensive midfielder. I think that, look, he's been a great workhorse for them. He has been an absolute power station. But the way West Ham are trying to play, the ball playing sort of, instead of that counter attack sort of play that they've been trying, they're trying a bit more possession, a bit more ball playing. And Souček's not your guy to be in the middle of the park for you there. If you're looking to play that sort of style of football, you can't have someone like Souček in the middle. So I think a move away, you could get a good price for him. Maybe bring in someone who's a bit better at playing with his feet. But yeah, Souček for me is just not good enough for the style of play that they want. Yeah, so I've gone for Souček.
Cool. Everton. I'd like to get your player.
I've gone for a man who showed class. He burst onto the scene. Once upon a time, he showed that he could potentially make a move to a top club. I remember rumours going around for him joining Manchester United. I've gone for Davies, their midfielder.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Tom Davies. Yes. I know you're talking about. Yeah.
For me, he had that one breakout season, played very, very well, looked promising, and he's just been bang average since. He's just been bang average. And I think that if Everton are looking to try and get better and not try and get out of relegation battles, then you need to be looking elsewhere other than Tom Davies.
That's a good shout, Billy. That's a really good shout. Okay. So I've gone with Mopai.
Yes, I'd agree with that as well. I was looking at
Shocking.
him.
Yeah, shocking. Absolutely shocking. I mean, did he again? I respect every professional player,
Mm.
especially playing in the Premiership. But what did he do at Brighton to deserve a move to? Well, I don't know if he deserved it. I mean, right now, like Brighton are a much better club than Everton, so like he's kind of
Mm.
gone down. And since he's gone, Brighton have done better. So
Yeah.
who's got the better deal? um, yeah, I don't is he a number 9? Is he number 10? Is he an inside forward? I don't know what he actually does.
Mm.
And Everton are literally going down that pathway of just collecting, not even buying players, they are collecting players. And I don't understand. I don't understand. Let me keep it like that. I don't want to be disrespectful.
Yeah. Fair.
Wolves. I can go first.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Chiore.
Adama Traore.
Adama Traore.
Okay.
He hasn't done anything for the past couple of seasons. Went to Barcelona, didn't work out there. And again, we've like seen it in like little spurts. And the Wolves fans deserve better.
Mm.
I mean, the decision making is awful. No,
Yeah.
yes, it's awful. I mean, of course, like he's got, he's probably the quickest player on the planet, possibly.
Mm.
But again, once you slow down and literally once you can slow him down, what else has he got? Like he can't really beat a player. And he's just been on Wolves books for so long. He was linked with Liverpool, I know, when like he was in a rich vein of form.
Mm.
But again, a rich vein of form doesn't mean anything. Let's see what you can do like next season and the season after that. And we've all seen with the Barcelona move that like should have been his, like his kind of dream come true. Well, it probably was. But all of a sudden he's back in the Midlands in a Wolves shirt. No disrespect to Wolves, but from wearing a Barcelona shirt to a Wolves shirt, I think I'd also feel a little bit depressed as well.
Yeah. I think Adama Traore was a fair shout. I completely forgot about him, if I'm honest. I think with Adama Traore, I still remember that exciting player in Middlesbrough who was just an absolute tank running down the wing. Burst onto the scene, was phenomenal. He showed good dribbling to beat a man. He showed great strength, but he's just been found out now. I think he's so one-dimensional that the players do just find out about him. I've gone with a player close to my heart, someone who I love, Diego Costa.
Ooh.
I think it's just not worked out. I was so excited, even if it wasn't for Chelsea, to see him back in the Prem, smashing up Liverpool, smashing up Man City, smashing up all them lot. And it just hasn't worked out. It's been one of them transfers that just hasn't worked out. I think that he potentially could look to go into China, Saudi Arabia, maybe even the MLS. But yeah, I don't think the move back to the Prem was the best decision.
Nottingham Forest. And I'll let you go first.
I've gone with the wrong Cafu. Not the Cafu we're all thinking and loving, but the one that plays for Nottingham Forest. Now, overall, it's so difficult when you sign 23 players in a transfer window and a lot of the main core group that got promoted were forgotten about. And I think that he was one of them players that was forgotten about. And I think overall, he's just dead wood at this point. I think that he's a waste of wages, and I think that they need to get him off the books and potentially get a bit of money for him. So I've gone for Cafu.
Yeah. I mean, Nottingham Forest, it's pretty hard because you could probably call out about 10 players that really they could sell. But I've gone with Bolly, centre back. I know he was at Wolves. I mean, is that the player that they needed? I don't think so. Doesn't really set the world alight, and like you can set the world alight as a centre back. And again, he's a throwback. But I don't think he'll play a lot of games personally. And I just don't understand the signing. The money of transfer fee and wages could have been put towards better, centre mids, definitely. So I didn't really get that, but hey. And last but no means least, Southampton. Is it me first?
Yeah.
Okay. So I've gone for Maitland-Niles.
Maitland-Niles, the ex-Arsenal player.
Yeah. I don't understand. He was at Roma, didn't do nothing. And you'd think with all of this knowledge from Roma and Arsenal going into a Southampton team, he should be a starter. And he even had issues there as well. I think, again, is he a right back? Is he a right midfielder? I don't, is he a centre mid? Like he plays in those positions, like he fills in, like he kind of feels like he's a filler. And rather than being a filler, you want to be part of the premium paint. You want to be, you want to be a bright, prime color. Like you don't want to be like you don't want to be like the polyfiller. You want to be one of them bright colors, and he just hasn't impressed at all.
Yeah. I've gone for another ex-Arsenal player, Theo Walcott. I think that he's getting too old now. I think he's past it. I think that you could be he needs to be looked at now as a Championship player. He's not even a Premier League player at this point. I don't think, like I said, he's too old. I think he needs to make some room, move out the way, and let some of the younger lot get involved. You could question it, saying that he brings the experience and the knowledge of the experience, but I think you've got so many players there that already have the knowledge and the experience that you don't need Walcott. So I think he needs to leave for me.
Thank you so much for everyone that's been tuning in. Thank you again to Billy with your database of yes, I've seen your phone, like literally, putting me to shame. But again, thank you, Billy, for like picking out your players. Please like and subscribe. Go and follow Billy, Joe, and also Michelle on TikTok. All of the details will be below in the description. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Cheers, guys.